This episode covers all of the steps needed to give your Mustang taillights that unique sequential pattern. The sequential taillight kit shown in this video is from meterforit.com. If you can follow along with this episode, you will have a good idea of how to install other taillight kits, or at the least, change your taillight bulbs. The first step is to remove the rear trunk panel. It's held on by two screws that serve double duty as the cargo net anchors, and also by a trim piece that is held on by four plastic fasteners. With the trim piece removed, you can squeeze a larger panel out of the trunk. The meterforit.com kit is complete all the way down to the electrical connectors. It consists of a controller and a number of wires that need to be spliced or added to the existing taillight harness. So we went through and crimped mount connectors to most of the wires. The only ones that do not require connectors are the gray and blue wires, which will be plugged directly into the taillight socket. With the panel out of the way, we pried the driver's side taillight connector off of its mounting point and then unplugged it. You can see two green-orange striped wires. Pick one of them and clip it about an inch from the edge of the connector. Now put on your turn signal and take note of which light is still blinking. We marked it with some electrical tape, and you'll find out why we marked it in a later step. Go ahead and remove all taillight mounting nuts and loosen the rubber plug that routes the wires. There are 4 taillight bolts total, including 2 hiding in the corner of the trunk. You may have to remove the driver's side trunk panel or just move it out of the way to get to these last 2 nuts. Remove the taillight and detach the wire harness mounting point. Turn the inboard taillight socket counterclockwise to remove it. And then swap whichever light was still flashing in the previous step into the inboard position. Now we need to run an extra wire to what used to be the old inboard light socket. I used an awl to make a tiny hole in the rubber plug and then ran the blue wire through it. You can then pull this wire through the taillight housing. Remove the tiny plastic seal on the back of the taillight socket. Since this used to be the inboard taillight socket, it's not wired to go on with the turn signals, just with the brakes. But conveniently enough, the connector has room for a third wire, so Ford really did make this mod easy. I made a tiny hole in the seal to route the new wire, but you're better off just making a careful cut with some scissors. Make sure the blue wire is all the way in the socket, and then button it up. You can then install the socket in the only empty space left. Now note, if I had cut the other green-orange wire, we would have swapped the inner and outer taillight sockets and left this middle one alone. And speaking of that green-orange wire, we have some unfinished business. The kit includes these Scotch lock T-connectors. Connect one to each end of that severed green-orange wire. Then plug the green wire from the controller into the piece of wire closest to the harness plug, and connect the purple wire to the piece of wire closest to the taillight. I also recommend wrapping these wires with some electrical tape so the end of the wires don't accidentally touch anything metal. I also use some electrical tape to bundle the blue wires with the rest of the harness. After that, slide the taillight into place, making sure not to get the blue wire caught around the bolts, and then reinstall the nuts. For the ground connection, you want to install another Scotch lock onto the black wire of the taillight harness, and then plug the black wire from the controller box into that T connector. The controller's red power wire can be connected to a harness found on the driver's side of the trunk. Tap into the light green orange stripe wire if your car's a 99 to 04, or find and tap into the light green yellow stripe wire if your car is a 96 to 98 model. We're using the same type of Scotch lock connector as before. You want to repeat all of the taillight steps for the passenger side as well. One last thing we need to change is the flasher. You can modify your own or purchase it with the kit. The stock flasher is hiding underneath the dashboard. You want to slide it off the metal mount and then unclip it from the plug. Then pop in the new one and remount it. What makes this kit great is it lets you pick between factory, sequential, with the exclusive chase pattern just by moving the little jumper. Once you pick the desired setting, turn on your driver's side signal and then press the red or black button. The lights should blink together 2 or 3 times and then start the selected sequence. Now turn on the passenger's side signal and it should go through the same calibration process. If everything works, you can reinstall your trunk panels. Now just for fun, here's what it looks like when you press the brakes, and then here's how your car will look with the hazard lights on. I gotta admit, it's almost hypnotic. I have some more tips and notes on this episode, but to be honest, the video is long enough as it is. So go to www.autohow.tv for more info on this particular episode, including printable instructions and a detailed explanation of the different sequential taillight kits that are out there.